It is the second largest French company after LVMH, and its extremely complex structure is in constant flux. Roughly speaking, it owns nearly 1,000 subsidiaries or stakes around the world, including more than 200 in France. Each of these subsidiaries operates in the fields of exploration, hydrocarbon production, refining, petroleum product distribution, gas, renewable energies, chemicals, trading, and finally maritime transport after 100 years of mergers, acquisitions, and consolidation. The group controls, more or less directly, the entire production chain. The operations, marked by the blue-white-red logo, and since 2021 the rainbow logo, can be found on all 5 continents. According to their statements, the group is sitting on proven reserves of conventional oil, estimated at nearly 10.5 million barrels, the majority of which are located in the Middle East. And it continues to invest billions of euros every year in exploration, discovery, and the exploitation of new resources.
This is the story of the richest country in the world. Sitting on billions of barrels of oil, this is the story of a country whose foreign multinationals have, for years, reaped profits from African black gold, while leaving behind a trail of controversy, lawsuits, and accusations. Today, I'm going to talk to you about Congo-Brazzaville because history is repeating itself. On September 1st, TotalEnergies, in partnership with QatarEnergy and SNPC, announced a new offshore exploitation project. But behind the official smiles and handshakes, a burning question remains. Is this partnership really a good deal for the Congolese people, or only for TotalEnergies? To understand what's at stake in Congo, we need to look back at the history of TotalEnergies. Let's go.
Total was indicted in the oil for food scandal in Iraq, accused of bribing foreign public officials. The suspicions involve $60 million in bribes paid between 1995 and 2004 to Saddam Hussein's regime in order to obtain oil contracts. In 2013, Total was hit with a record fine of $398 million imposed by US authorities. At the same time, Total has other scandals trailing behind it. The Erica oil spill in 1999, 400 kilometers of Brittany coastline polluted, hundreds of thousands of birds killed. Total's responsibility would be recognized after a sensational trial. 2 years later, the explosion at the AZF plant, a subsidiary of the group, left 31 dead. Here too, Total is found guilty for its negligence. But nothing can stop Big Mustache. Under his leadership, Total pursues aggressive expansion. Iraqi Kurdistan, Myanmar despite the military dictatorship, a giant gas project in Qatar.
Europeans have already been shunning the group for some time, seeing it as the ultimate climate villain and criticizing its activities and this worst of empires. On April 26th, just 2 days after telling Bloomberg he was considering moving TotalEnergies' listing to New York, Patrick Pouyanné was questioned by a Senate inquiry committee. And on the agenda, nothing but tough questions. First, Total's inaction on environmental issues. According to the latest IPCC report, humanity must limit its emissions to the equivalent of 500 billion tons of CO2 per year. This is imperative if we want a 50% chance of keeping the temperature rise below 1.5 degrees. Yet Total is involved in about 20 projects or sites known as carbon bombs, each capable of emitting 1 billion tons of CO2 equivalent over their life cycle. In fact, it is the second largest operator of such sites in the world. Under these conditions, how can the group expect to meet its commitments regarding the climate emergency or human rights? A shift that has been demanded by consumers, authorities, and even the group's shareholders since the 2000s. Christophe de Margerie had a reputation for not caring at all about the environment and being interested only in commercial profits. And in this area, Patrick Pouyanné surpasses the master. According to him, fossil fuel production must first be boosted in order to then finance the energy transition. In this context, investments in the exploration and development of new fossil fuel deposits are justified by the climate emergency, and they must be intensified even if they are located near fragile reefs in national parks or in protected areas.
Founded in 1924 under the name Compagnie Française des Pétroles, the company grew in the shadow of wars and global crises. Each time it positioned itself as an opportunistic hunter, exploiting resources wherever fragile or corrupt states flung their doors wide open. In Africa, Total is not a recent newcomer. Nigeria, Angola, Gabon, Uganda, the list goes on. With its offshore platforms and refineries, the company has become an unmissable giant. But everywhere it sets up operations, the same question arises. Who really benefits from this oil windfall? The company now presents itself as a champion of the energy transition. But behind the green veneer, the realities on the ground tell a different story. because TotalEnergies also has a long list of scandals and controversies on the African continent. In Uganda and Tanzania, for example, the mega E-Corp project sparked a global outcry. Forced displacement of populations, environmental destruction, accusations of corruption.
The largest fuel pipeline in the entire order of the world, this massive pipeline will contribute an astonishing 34.3 million tons of CO2 into the atmosphere each and every year. If we want to limit global temperatures to 1.5 degrees Celsius, we cannot have any new fossil fuel developments. That's equivalent to 7 times Uganda's annual emissions.
I remember a time when we went on a school trip to Maxhensee National Park. It was amazing to see the mountains, the water, the buildings, the animals, and if this crude oil pipeline in Africa is built, all of that will be gone.
The E-Corp will cross more than 200 rivers. A third of it will cross the Lake Victoria Basin, and it will also pass through one of the oldest and largest national parks in Uganda, home to many different animal species. The climate crisis was caused by countries like France. That's why it's the moral responsibility of Europeans to be accountable to us. Africa is a continent responsible for less than 4% of global emissions.
The climate crisis is directly rooted in systems of colonialism and racism. We don't want to take the same path, and that's why we're stepping up to stop the African crude oil pipeline.
In South Africa, the company was taken to court by NGOs accusing it of threatening fragile marine ecosystems. In Nigeria, the memories remain bitter, even haunting. Irreversible pollution and a Niger Delta region still marked by poverty, despite decades of oil extraction. These accusations are not just rumors. They are based on NGO reports, lawsuits filed in court, and testimonies from local populations. So when Total announces a new operation in the Democratic Republic of Congo, it's hard not to ask the following question. Will Congo be the next collateral victim of this insatiable appetite? Moreover, the Congolese context makes the situation even more explosive. The country is going through a very deep security and social crisis. Internal tensions, terrorist threats in the sub-region, and economic fragility are weakening the state. Yet, it is in this climate of instability that strategic agreements are being signed with multinationals. Why? Because in this chaos, foreign companies find a favorable environment. Governments short on cash rush to make deals, sometimes at the expense of the people's interests. And Congo doesn't stop there, as Brazzaville has recently drawn closer to Washington, a partnership with the United States that raises the following question. Is this a strategy for sovereignty, or is it a way to hand over even more national resources to major foreign powers? And this is where the scandal becomes blatant, because in this new offshore project, the Republic of Congo will receive only 15% of the shares. Yes, only 15%. For comparison, let's look elsewhere on the continent. The countries of the alliance of Sahel states, such as Mali, Burkina Faso, or Niger, have recently decided to take control of their natural wealth. No more Leon contracts, no more ridiculous percentages. From now on, they're talking about total sovereignty over their resources. So how can we explain that Congo, sitting on billions of barrels, is content with a mere tip? Is this a strategic choice or disguised submission? Who benefits from this partnership? Because it is certainly not the Congolese people, whose daily life is marked by poverty, unemployment, and failing infrastructure. This deal is presented as a historic opportunity, but history has already shown us that major official announcements often hide major disappointments. For TotalEnergy and QatarEnergy, it's a total victory. Access to new reserves, colossal profits, and increased influence. And for the Congolese elites, it's also a windfall, political dividends, and perhaps even personal ones. But for the people, nothing is less certain, because as long as natural resources do not translate into schools, hospitals, roads, and jobs, oil remains a curse rather than a blessing. It's important to ask, has Congo signed a win-win deal with TotalEnergies, or has the country once again sold off its sovereignty for the benefit of foreign interests? History will judge, as it always does so well, but one thing is clear. As long as oil contracts continue to be negotiated in the shadows, as long as the people remain excluded from the benefits, Africa will remain a prisoner of its black gold. And you, what do you think? Is Congo right to open its doors to TotalEnergies? Or is this a strategic mistake that will cost future generations dearly? Share your thoughts in the comments, let's discuss together, and above all, don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on upcoming political news. For more content on African current events, follow us on the African social network Diba World and on all our other platforms. All the links are available in the bio.